なたの話をもう一度よく検証してみたんですが、早くその線で調べてみるべきだと思えてきて。
本当ですか？
はい。
Is she just playing along right now?
誰にも。
はい、あなたに初めて。
もう考えてあるさ。
Ah, right, the piece he carries.
そのバスジャックの事件があった日時を教えてもらえますか
？12月20日、朝顔を構え、スペースランド行きです。
This is a bit.
12月
She's straight up just giving him details of
ス
the.
ペースランド行き。
Oh.
はい。
Ah, suicide note.
これですぐに遺体は見つからない。フィアンセの死という自殺する理由もある。何がそんなにおかしい？
Okay, what's so funny, Ryuk?
リュウク。
I think he knows she's playing along.
失礼。
His phone goes off.
我々の携帯は切っておくように言っておいて。
Right?
わかった。こっちも終わったところだ。自分のキーで入ってきてくれ。渡りが来ます。
Oh, Watari.
わかりました。その件はもしよければ僕が伝えておきますよ。
いえ、できれば自分で話そうと思っています。あなたの意見を聞いて早く伝えるべきだと思いましたし。
I think she might be suspicious. Is Ryuk laughing because he knows she gave a fake name, maybe?
この女がどんな死に方をするのか見てみたいが、追いかけていくわけにもいくまい。
きっとキラは捕まりますよね。
I love it.
どうした？もう時間は過ぎているぞ。おかしい。なぜこの女は動かない？死の状況もこの範囲なら操れることは何回も検証してきた。じゃあなぜ？
Ryuk knows.
リュウク。
You gotta love Ryuk.
そういえばさっきノートに書いた時も異様に笑っていたの。名前を聞き出した時の笑い方にも違和感があった。
Fake name.
どちらも名前に関わっていた時。偽名？
No mask?
皆様お疲れ様です。
この方が渡り。いつもの服装は？
あの格好だと渡りですと言わんば
Dude's out here looking like Alfred.
このホテルに龍崎がいるとバレてしまいます。
Fair. Fair enough.
なるほど。
しまった。父から電話がかかってきたらこの女に取り次ぐ約束になっていたんだ。電話がかかってくるだけでアウトだ。どうする？何を考えてるんだ？
Haha, I like
携
this.
帯なんて
State of
電源
panic.
切ればいいだけじゃないか。落ち着け。たかが名前を確認するだけじゃないか。
There's that Shinigami eyes deal.
どこかに免許証や身分証明書になるものは絶対に持っている。相手は女だ。いざとなったら力ずくで。
Oh, come on, bro.
バカな。
Yeah.
こんな場所で騒ぎになることはできない。
Ryuk.
いつでも目の取引はできるからな。コンタクトを入れるのと変わらない。数秒で済む。
こんな女ごときのために残りの寿命を半分にしてたまるか。いや、取引自体一生
He'll consider it at some point.
はい。
まだあなたも警察庁に用が？
Bro, yeah, you're coming off as like a stalker now.
わかりました。
それではこのベルトを皆さんにつけていただきます。
ベルト？
Tracking belts?
バックルに通信機が埋め込まれています。
Bro, he is like
皆
Alfred.
さんの位置が龍崎に分かります。そしてバックルを2回押すと私の携帯が鳴り、
Okay, okay.
緊急時にも使ってください。
なんかキラーを追う特殊部隊って感じでかっこいいですね。
松田。
Keep it professional,
この遊
bro.
びじゃないんだ。浮ついたことは言うな。
はい。
女が警察庁に行き、
Okay, now he's just like straight up stalking her.
戻っていたら僕は終わりだ。キラ事件の捜査本部は今担当する人間がわからないシステムを取っているんです。
Oh. Is he?
操作している人間が一般人にもわかるような体制では、あなたのフィアンセを襲った悲劇と同じことが起こってしまう。
なぜそんなに詳しく知ってらっしゃるんですか？
この女案外鋭いぜ。
仕方ない。話しましょう。僕も捜査本部の一員だからです。
Ah.
あなたが捜査本部の一員？
はい。今、捜査本部の指揮はエルが取っています。過去に2件の事件を警察に助言し、解決に導きました。
じゃあそれを買われて。
好きな時に捜査本部に出入りし、自由に捜査することを認められています。今本部にいる者は
His cackle.
わかりました。でもやはり念のため本部に
Hell
行こ
yeah.
うと思います。
え？
できればエルに直接話したいんです。
Don't think she's ever gonna get that chance.
エルに会うなんて不可能です。無理ですよ。
Okay, she needs to call him out at this point.
もしかしたら会ってくれるかもしれません。
え？
パソコン越しにその声に従っただけですが、私も2年前にアメリカのある事件でエルの下で働いたことがあるんです。つい3ヶ月前まで私も FBI の
No!
捜査官でしたから。
He might be able to figure it out.
これを利用するんだ。そうだったんですか。道理でキラーを追う姿勢や行動が素人とは違うと思っていました。
よくもそれだけ嘘を並べられる。
この事件は
Hey, you
私
psycho.
なりに警察も捜査本部の人すらも疑ってかかるべきだと判断しました。でもエルなら信じられる。
しかし、なぜエルに話そうとしていたことを僕に。
正直に言います。あなたにはエルに似たもの、近いものを感じたんです。
捜査本部の一員になりませんか？
Come on.
誰でもいいわけじゃない。そう、あなたのような人が必要なんです。捜査本部に入る条件はしっかりした身分証明と今捜査本部にいる
No,
者
come
の
on,
推薦、
no.
そしてエルの許可だけです。
私が捜査本部に？
ここであなたに会えたのも何かの運命だ。僕があなたを推薦します。
私には捨てるものは何もありません。キラを捕まえたい。その気持ち以外は何もないんです。一緒に捜査させてください。
よかった。
日本の免許証でよろしいですか？
はい。
Ah.
間に合う。
Ah. He didn't. Come on. He was eyeballing that building earlier.
なぜそんなに時計を気になさってるんですか？
ああ、これはですね、キラだから。
Oh man.
どうしました？
しなくてはいけないことが。
もう父と電話がつながりますよ。話さなくていいんですか？
何もお話しすることはありません。
さようなら、美空直美さん。
Naomi. Whoa. Yeah, that was quite depressing. That ending, quite deflating, quite draining actually. I just felt so, I don't know. I don't know if defeated's the right term here, but it also had like a sense or feeling of inevitability, right? He was going to get her sooner or later, and it happened, right? But that shot of her, that frame of her face, realizing that she just made the same mistake that her husband made, right? She ended up giving up her identity, and unfortunately, she's gonna die in the same manner as her husband, right? Having met Kira and believing that he is some sort of ally, right? Someone that could be trusted. And both of them ended up falling in the same trap at the end. So yeah, in that sense, I said in the last episode, she had a massive target on her back at this point. So even though she did end up giving a fake name, an alias, he had to deal with it, right? He had to deal with her. So yeah, it kind of sucks that such a great character is already gone. Established a few episodes ago, and as you've seen, I was quite excited about the prospect of this new character, but yeah, it's finished. That chapter's already ended, and it's moving on. So even though Naomi ended up falling into his traps, and she's gone most likely at this point. No, that's a given. She's done. Now it's just a matter of the whole death playing out, right? Is her body actually not going to be found at all, right? And takes it completely out of the picture as he specified in his death note? Or could her disappearance play a role, right, in the story? She did mention a connection to Elle, right? Having collaborated or worked together on a case in the States. So maybe her disappearance could play a role, right? So that sense of dread just kept building and building throughout the episode to its conclusion, right? Escalating the tension. I felt the staging of the episode was quite effective as well. Taking place over the span of a walk towards HQ, right? So in that sense, it also kind of added a ticking time bomb element to it, right? He had to figure it out under pressure, right? He had to figure it out against the clock. And you in that sense, you get to see him in a state of panic, right? He had to catch himself. He had to calm down after he's panicking, because he's so used to just putting the name in, or he's so used to having it go exactly as planned that the moment he sees it not go according to plan, he does start to panic a bit, right? But again, he caught himself and kind of reeled it back in, and then tried a few more things. So the story, this anime does a great job of constantly progressing the story, right? Nothing lingers or gets stretched out over the span of 3-4 episodes, right? So the pacing, I think, is one of the strong points of this anime so far. So staying on Light, he really is quite despicable, isn't he? Such an arrogant individual. He really had to pull out that phone and then taunt Naomi after he knew that he got her. And he did something similar to her husband, right? As he was dying, he wanted to make sure that he shows himself, that he reveals himself as Kira, right? It's clear that he gets a thrill out of this. He wants to establish the power dynamics here, right? He wants to establish himself as a dominant force and, let them know that he got them, right? That they couldn't get him. He has this insatiable desire to come out on top, right? And to be that dominant force. And if there is a chink in the armor, it's that. It's the arrogance of light, right? That is something that he cannot change. I don't think he can change that. That is so. Again, like I said, this insatiable need to establish himself and get one over the people chasing him, right? He wants them to know, right, that I got you, right? I got one over you. You couldn't get me. I'm Kira, and you're dead. So I feel like if there's to be a potential downfall, I think this arrogant attitude of his is going to play a part, because it's the one unpredictable aspect to him, right? Or the one flaw that I can see, because, for the most part, he's quite brilliant. He's intelligent. He covers his tracks. He's meticulous in his planning or the killings. But I think if something could take him down, it is this tendency to be overconfident at times. I think that could really bite him in the ass at some point, because he just can't help himself, right? He just can't resist. I think this episode actually showed me that he isn't untouchable, right? He was in a state of panic, and then it's becoming clear at this point this arrogant attitude of his could be the opening to get him. This overconfidence, right? I feel like that's one of the only things that could be used against him. And in that sense, you've got L on the other side, who in the last episode, they made it clear that he's established quite a specific profile for Kira, right? Quite a specific emotional and psychological profile for Kira. So I could totally see L potentially use this arrogance against him at some point. And in that sense, that's probably one of the more exciting prospects of the anime at this point. Those two having more of a back and forth. Right now, they're still quite disconnected, right? It hasn't really gone toe to toe just yet. And Elle kind of saw this really early on, right? The first meeting, I guess you could say, or the first time they kind of speak with each other. The decoy L, and then you see Light kind of loses cool, and then that was one of the main reasons he was able to construct such a specific emotional and psychological profile on him, right? He just from that outburst or that phone call, he could already tell that he has a childlike stance on some of these things, right? But circling back to that overconfident nature of his, that arrogant nature of his, hypothetical. What if Naomi bamboozles him with yet another fake ID at that point, right? I mean, at that point, it was clear to him that, okay, it's a done deal at this point, right? I guess he read the situation, and I guess he could tell that, yeah, this is Naomi kind of fully opening up now. There's nothing suspicious going on here anymore. But what if he gets caught off guard? I could see that happening, man. He was so quick to. He was so excited by the prospect of getting to reveal himself as Kira, right? So yeah, I really do feel like this arrogance could be his downfall, if it does go into that direction at some point. And like looking back at episode 1 and his crusade against a specific type of person or criminals, it's so far gone from that at this point, right? It's not even close. It's not even the same realm at this point. Now he's just operating under a totally different MO, right? He can't see. He's so. He doesn't even realize he's essentially the type of person he was trying to exterminate on this crusade towards this new utopia, right? Because he certainly wanted to see her death, right? It wasn't just a simple, she's she's an obstacle, she has to be taken care of. It wasn't just that. He actively wanted to see how this plays out. He wanted to see her death, right? It's clear that he's getting some form of pleasure out of this, right? And how about that snowfall happening just at the right moment, right? Right as the situation is hitting that critical moment, the snowfall happens at quite an opportune moment for Kira. Because if that snowfall doesn't happen right then and there at that moment, then that agent from the task force doesn't put the umbrella up. And if he doesn't put the umbrella up, he sees light, right, as he goes by them or goes past them. So yeah, it all kind of played out perfectly. And again, it reminds me of that thing or that thought he had in the last episode. It appears that there is another god that might be looking out for me, right? So it is quite a coincidence that happened right at that moment. And again, in that sense, it's crazy that he's right under their noses. One of the members just kind of strolls past Kira, and then at one point, Light and Naomi even walk past that building, right, that they're in. So he's right there, and in that sense, this is probably the best place for him to be, right, right under their noses. He's just not a suspect at all, as Chief Yagami's son, right? Especially since he's established as this intelligent student, top of his class or top of the charts in Japan. And it was even established in the last episode that even the people at HQ know him as this really intelligent individual, right? So much so that at times he's actually come on to help with some of these cases. And of course, Ryuk's having a blast. And, he saw the perfect chance to dangle that Shinigami Eyes deal in front of Light again. Light, declined it because the situation, he was in a tight spot, but he felt that it wasn't the most impossible situation to dig himself out of. But I do feel like he is going to end up accepting that at some point, or he's going to need it at some point. And of course, it's going to have to be a really desperate situation, perhaps the most desperate situation possible, right? As desperate as it gets. The last resort, right? And I can see him having to use a last resort type thing against someone like L, right? Because L is just, he is so airtight. He has everything so airtight at this moment, Ryuzaki, that I feel like that he might have to use that deal. He might have to take that deal to combat L. I could see a situation of Light kind of being right up against the wall, right, and he just can't see any openings or anything, and then and at that moment he could potentially take that Shinigami deal, but that also kind of, the Shinigami deal also kind of scares me because that's like a free hit essentially, right? If he takes a Shinigami deal at some point in an attempt to combat L, or to to fight back against L, that could be risky, or that could be dangerous for L, right? Because that's one of the things that L cannot figure out, right? He cannot know about this Shinigami Eyes prospect. As intelligent as he is, as resourceful as he is, that's just something he has no clue about, right? So yeah, I could see Light taking that deal as a last resort, and I could see it against L, because I do feel like it might take something like that, the Shinigami Eyes and the capabilities of it to combat someone like L. Now, staying on L, Naomi noted something quite interesting, right? She felt that Light reminded her of L, right? So much so that she thought that Light might have been L, right, undercover. And that's kind of crazy because she didn't see L face to face, even though they collaborated, right, at one point on a case. But she felt such a striking similarity that she actually felt that this might be L. Again, that goes back to stuff I've noted about them being so similar in some cases, and even the physical appearance, right? So let's see how that plays out. This connection that L and Light seem to have, and then speaking of L and his plans, he also brought out these new IDs. And, that kind of takes me back to that point of aliases and fake IDs and being bamboozled by those, So there's a few more fake IDs in play now. So, let's see how that all comes into this. And I also got to see Watari. Now, this is a pleasant surprise that he's just this sweet old man. Instantly reminded me of Alfred. Same type of demeanor, same type of helpful, resourceful nature. And in that sense, L kind of does remind me of a different type of Batman, right? A Bruce Wayne and Alfred combo. And if I'm gonna stay on that parallel, Chief Yagami also kind of reminds me of Commissioner Gordon. But yeah, they certainly make an interesting duo, right? A unique duo. How did someone like L and Watari even kind of team up or meet each other? So it'll be interesting to see a potential backstory. They make a unique combo, quite a unique combo, those two. And, speaking of the task force, I'd be pleasantly surprised if Matsuda doesn't end up dying. I feel like I feel like he's gonna slip up, right? At some point, he was just so excited about all of this, and Chief Yagami had to kind of put him in his place and remind him that this isn't something to be excited about. This is a life and death situation, right? There's this serial killer on the loose. So kind of catch yourself. This isn't the time to be excited and having fun. So yeah, I did say that I think most of this task force might get picked apart one by one as things play out. But the moment I saw that Watari is this sweet old man, I instantly started getting concerned that now that they've shown his face, they've shown his name, and they've shown him to be this companion to L, right? Someone he has some kind of connection with. I feel like he could be on the chopping block as well at some point. And and maybe if L ends up losing Watari, he could also take it up a notch, or he could get rattled by something like that, maybe. So far he's pretty airtight about everything. He's pretty cool about everything. Nothing really seems to faze him or rattle him. But yeah, the sweet old man, Watari. I mean, it's good to see the man behind the mask, but in that sense, I'm also kind of dreading it now that they've shown him, because he becomes a target as well. But yeah, I do want to see that backstory, how these two kind of met up. It really is such a strange combo, right? Such a unique duo. So I think that's about it for this episode. That was a great episode. It really was. The ending was quite affecting, right? Again, it really left me drained and deflated. It had a really depressing feeling to see her get caught out like that. But yeah, like I said, I don't like the guy. That much was clear since episode 1, right? He's despicable. And at this point in time, he's despicable. But even in episode 1, I just didn't like anything about him. But that doesn't mean that I don't find him interesting, right? It is interesting to see. It is intriguing to see how he manages to get out of these situations. Part of me doesn't want to see him get caught. And then the other part of me doesn't want to see these people die, right? It's still not as simple as, oh, I just want these people to catch him. I do want to see how it all plays out. Like I said, he is compelling. There are elements about Light that are quite compelling, right? So yeah, if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like. Consider dropping some comments. Give me your thoughts. as long as they're spoiler free. If you're interested in early access or even full length for this episode, consider checking out the Patreon page. The links are in the description and the pinned comment. You know, check out some of the listings on the Patreon page, and in doing so, you'll be supporting the channel. So yeah, that's about it for this one. That was definitely one of the better ones of the series so far. Again, only 7 episodes in, but yeah, top 3, top 2 for sure. I really did like a lot of elements of that episode. But yeah, so I hope to see you soon for the next episode. Take it easy.